Hi, Carl Ford with M2M Evolution here in Santa Clara at Sprint's Open Solutions Conference. I'm here with Chris Ferguson, who is Director of Business Solutions. Is that right? No. It's
Support services.
Support Services. First of all, Chris, thank you for being here.
Glad to be here.
Now, I've really enjoyed the conference, and I enjoyed earlier being with you at the MCC and looking at what's going on, and you guys let me sit in some meetings, and you were not dominating the conversation, but you certainly were the person who was providing these solutions, so it was an apt title for you.
Oh, thank you.
And in particular, we were dealing with the discussion of how working with Sprint works these days and what's been going on. So you want to talk about how M2M solutions get implemented?
Yeah, absolutely. One of the things that we hear a lot from our customers and our partners is that Sprint's very easy to do business with. And that's something we strive for each and every day, in each and every encounter with our customers. And as you know, an M2M solution is very complex and takes a long time to really come up with the right equipment, maybe an application that needs to ride on that equipment, and then the installation process, how it will be sold and packaged and priced. So there's a lot of steps to putting a solution together, and Sprint works with over 140 partners to bring those solutions to life. One of the things that we talk a lot about is certification. And I think that was a topic of the conversation with our partners at the MCC this week. So we're working very hard to improve that process in Sprint. There seems to be a perception that we might be a little bit longer or a little bit more difficult than our competitors, but I would say we're actually very thorough because we want to make sure that that solution performs to what the customer expects. We certainly first test it so that it doesn't harm our network, and that's what our competitors do as well. But we take that extra step to make sure that the antenna is working properly, that the software on it is working properly, so that at the end of the day, when that solution is implemented, the customer gets what they expected.
Right. Now, one interesting aspect that was being discussed, which I thought was kind of a gotcha that people could have that you guys can help with, is we got into the discussion of people often test just the raw materials without actually knowing what the enclosures are going to be.
Exactly.
And that ends up making quite a difference as to how well the antenna works.
Right.
So I got the impression from Dermot from Tau Glass and from your conversations that one thing that people should do right away is understand how they're going to deal with the environmentals. Absolutely. So you want to talk about that a little bit?
Yeah, absolutely. So if you think about an M2M solution, they can range in size from, a 1/2 inch by 1/2 inch to a large J-bus type router that you put into a semi-truck. But when you get very small, the antennas get smaller, and so their performance levels change. And so what we really need to think about is, what is the expectation of that particular device? So if you talk about the devices that you see in cars for usage-based insurance, it's a very small device that sits under the dashboard, and you need to think about, what do I really need to send from a data perspective? I don't necessarily need the 360 coverage that I need with a phone, right? So let's test it for what it's going to do versus testing it like everything else. And that's really where Sprint is headed. And so when we have something that comes in the lab, even though the chipset or the module may have been certified, we then want to certify the host device. And so the way we do that is actually talk to the customer or the partner about what's the expectation of the device. What do you want it to do? Then we can together decide what's the right test plan, so that we're not just using a standardized test plan for each and every device. We're looking at what's the expectation, and then we can set the test plan to the expectation and hopefully get it through certification quicker. But I would say, and I would give advice to anyone that wants to bring something to market, is really work with the folks in those areas, like antenna providers, that can give you good counsel and guidance, and generally do that free of charge if you haven't already decided on what you're going to do. So they can give you some great advice on placement, size, all of those things before you even get to that point, so you have an easier path through certification.
Excellent. And one other aspect of this was, you've mentioned dealing with the direct piece parts, but I know you guys have also done a lot with integrators. Like Aris has an office in the MCC, Feeney Wireless came and talked with me. Right. So clearly, there's a role for integrators too, and I don't know if they speed up the process at all or if they're just one more possible component as to what you do with the integration, but It sounds like they provide a valuable service with you as well.
They absolutely do, and if you think about solutions that are very complex, where you might have more than one piece of equipment, a couple of applications riding on it, a laptop that has to have a web interface for the end user to see the data. All of those things need to work together, and it needs to be done in a simple manner for the customer. So the integrator can really take that role and make sure that that happens, so the customer doesn't have to worry that at the end, all of it works together and we've got a finished product.
Cool. Chris, thank you so much for your time.
You're welcome. Thank you.